Imagine a busy evening at a small-town bus stand. People rushing, engines humming, vendors shouting, and a young man just trying to get home after a long day. No one knew that within the next few seconds this place would turn into a crime scene that would shock an entire district. No one knew that a man who was laughing and talking a moment ago would never make it home again. This is the story of Abhishek Gupta, a 30-year-old businessman from the village of Kachoura, in the Sikandra Rao region of Hathras, Uttar Pradesh. Abhishek lived with his parents, his younger brother Ashish, and his sister, a well-respected, financially stable, and socially influential family, whose name carried weight across nearby villages. Just a month earlier, on 21st August 2025, Abhishek had fulfilled his dream by opening a TVS motorcycle showroom in the main Hathras Tehsil. Before this, he helped his father Neeraj Gupta in their grain trading business. Even after the new showroom opened, Neeraj continued managing most of the old business while Abhishek handled the new venture with energy and optimism. Their cousin Jitu, whose real name was Shivang Gupta, helped Abhishek run the showroom. Everything was moving forward, everything was going well. And then came 26th September 2025, the night everything changed. It was a regular Friday evening. Abhishek closed the showroom at exactly 9 p.m. just like he did every day. His father and cousin Jitu were with him. The three walked together toward the Kareshwar Chowraha bus stand to catch a bus home. The bus arrived. Neeraj and Jitu boarded it first. Abhishek stepped forward, one hand reaching for the railing to climb in. And then a motorcycle came racing in from the darkness and stopped right in front of him. The sudden screech of the brakes turned heads instantly. Two men were on the bike. The rider wore a helmet, but the one sitting behind didn't. Before anyone could question, move, or even understand what was happening, the pillion rider pulled out a pistol. 2 shots, loud, echoing blindingly fast. One bullet hit Abhishek directly in the head. He fell instantly. His body hit the ground before the sound of the gunshot had even faded. Inside the bus, his father and cousin froze in shock. Everything happened in less than 5 seconds. They never saw the attackers' faces properly, nor could they register the bike number before it sped away into the night. Chaos took over the bus stand. People screamed, some ran, some stood frozen, some tried to help but didn't know how. Neeraj Gupta and Jitu rushed out of the bus shouting Abhishek's name. When they saw him lying in a pool of blood, they broke down. Their cries echoed across the Chowraha. For a moment, time itself felt paralyzed. Neeraj somehow gathered himself and dialed 112. Luckily, since the area stayed crowded, a police PCR van was already stationed nearby. Within 5 minutes, officers arrived and assessed the situation. Abhishek still had a faint pulse, so they didn't waste a second. Without waiting for formalities, they lifted him, with the help of his father and cousin, and rushed him to JN Medical College, sirens cutting through the night. Doctors began emergency treatment immediately, fighting for every second, every breath, every possibility of survival. But the bullet had done its damage. Within minutes, the heart monitor flatlined. Doctors stepped back and declared Abhishek Gupta was no more. Neeraj collapsed. Ashish screamed when he arrived. The entire family shattered within moments. News spread like wildfire. The senior police team arrived. Show Vijay Singh, SP City, Mrigank Shekhar Pathak, CO Mayank Pathak, And soon after, SSP Neeraj Singh Jadhawan with the forensic lab and crime team. A special investigation team was formed right there in the hospital. By night itself, police detained Ashok Pandey, a man the family had mentioned in past disputes. Strangely, he had shown up at the hospital pretending to see what had happened. The next day, Abhishek's body was sent for post-mortem, and by afternoon he was cremated in the presence of hundreds of sorrowful villagers. Shops closed, people cried, and Kachoura mourned one of its most promising young men. What came next shocked even the police. During interrogation, Ashok Pandey broke down, and the words that came out of his mouth changed the direction of the case completely. Abhishek's murder wasn't random, it wasn't a robbery, it wasn't an accident. This was a planned contract killing, and the person behind it was someone no one expected, someone the family trusted, someone who should have protected Abhishek, not killed him. It was his own wife, Pooja Pandey. The murder of Abhishek Gupta sent shockwaves not just through his family but across the entire village of Kachoura and nearby areas. While the immediate grief and horror dominated the hearts of his parents and younger siblings, a darker question began to take root in everyone's minds. Who could carry out such a cold-blooded attack, and why? The gunman had appeared and disappeared with terrifying precision. There were no witnesses close enough to identify them, no plates recorded, no clear motive visible to outsiders. For Abhishek's father, Neeraj Gupta, this was more than tragedy. It was a nightmare he could not wake up from. The local police, trained to deal with ordinary disputes and thefts, suddenly found themselves confronting something far more sinister. The initial investigation revealed that the attack had been planned with chilling accuracy. The shooters had known the exact schedule of the bus, Abhishek's movements, and even the security arrangements. It was clear this was no random crime. It was a professional hit. The community murmured with fear as the reality began to sink in. Someone powerful, someone with resources, had orchestrated Abhishek's death. Within hours of the shooting, a special investigation team was formed. Senior officers, including SSP Neeraj Singh Jadhawan, took charge. They arrived at the scene, combing through CCTV footage, questioning shopkeepers, and piecing together the sequence of events. Every detail mattered. The position of the bus, the timing of the shooter's approach, the number of bullets fired, and the escape route used. Slowly, a horrifying picture emerged. The murder wasn't spontaneous, it was the execution of a long-conceived plan involving multiple individuals. Meanwhile, Abhishek's family, though shattered by grief, provided key details. His younger brother Ashish and father Neeraj recalled subtle incidents, strange visitors to the showroom, and unusual phone calls Abhishek had received in the preceding weeks. These small, almost invisible threads became critical leads for the police. Through these accounts, the team identified the first potential suspect. Someone who had inside knowledge of Abhishek's business and daily routine. This person wasn't a stranger. They were someone close enough to observe and manipulate. As the investigation intensified, the focus shifted toward Pooja Pandey, a figure whose name had appeared repeatedly in Abhishek's life. Once a teacher, a religious leader, and a woman of strong social influence, Pooja had cultivated a mysterious aura around her. But behind this respected exterior lay obsession and personal desire. Evidence began to point toward her involvement. Communications, personal encounters, and financial trails suggested she had used intermediaries to exert control over Abhishek. This revelation shocked everyone. How could someone so revered in society manipulate events to lead to a violent death? Pooja's husband Ashok Pandey became another focus of inquiry. Initially, the assumption was that he was an innocent bystander, unaware of his wife's intentions. But as officers delved deeper, it became evident that Ashok had been complicit either by coercion, fear, or mutual agreement. He had been present in planning sessions with hired killers, identifying Abhishek's routines and assisting in laying the groundwork for the assassination. The realization that this was a betrayal not just of friendship or trust, but of legal and moral boundaries created a wave of disbelief. The hired killers, Mohammed Fazal and Asif, were tracked through meticulous mobile and location surveillance. Fazal, known locally for his welding work, had a history of involvement in small criminal acts, but nothing on this scale. Asif, his accomplice, had connections that extended across districts, allowing them to navigate undetected for weeks before the act. Once police traced them, the operation to capture these men began in earnest. The apprehension of Fazal on October 1, 2025, provided the first concrete breakthrough, with the discovery of the weapon and the advance payment money. A chilling confirmation that this had been a premeditated contract killing. Interrogations revealed disturbing details. Fazal admitted that the plan was financed and directed by Pooja, using her husband and her own influence to manipulate others. The depth of her obsession with Abhishek became clearer. She wanted to ensure that he could belong to no one else. The timeline showed repeated attempts to coerce, harass, and manipulate Abhishek into submission, using both emotional and legal pressure. The police discovered a trail of messages, calls, and confrontations that painted a grim portrait of a calculated mind consumed by desire and jealousy. Ashok Pandey's role was equally chilling. Far from being a passive participant, he had facilitated meetings with the killers, provided logistical details, and ensured that their plan had every chance to succeed. Yet both he and Pooja initially tried to present themselves as uninvolved observers, creating a web of deceit that almost misled the authorities. The case became a complex puzzle of motive, manipulation, and premeditated intent, showing the dark lengths humans can go to when driven by obsession. As the investigation unfolded, public attention turned toward the figure of Pooja Shakun Pandey. Once celebrated as a religious and social figure, she was now at the center of a murder investigation. Her duality, publicly revered, privately obsessive, and criminal, shocked the local community. People struggled to reconcile her status with the brutal reality of her actions. Social media erupted with debate, speculation, and disbelief as citizens questioned how someone with such influence could orchestrate such a crime without detection until now. By early October, the police had successfully captured Asif, the second hired killer. With both perpetrators in custody, the full chain of events became apparent. The investigation revealed that Pooja and Ashok had orchestrated a plan that combined deceit, manipulation, and violence to achieve their goals. Each arrest, each confession, and each piece of evidence brought the team closer to unraveling the truth. The shocking revelations about obsession, power, and betrayal added layers of complexity to an already tragic story. Even as arrests were made and confessions recorded, the community was left in awe and horror. How could a seemingly respected family and social figure be capable of such extremes? How could Abhishek, a young man with a bright future, fall victim to someone he once trusted? And perhaps the most haunting question of all remained. Was this just the story of one crime, or a reflection of deeper societal obsessions and the dangerous intersection of power, desire, and obsession? By mid-October 2025, the investigation into Abhishek Gupta's murder had reached a critical stage. With both hired killers Mohammed Fazal and Asif in custody, the police had the opportunity to finally untangle the web of deceit, manipulation, and obsession that had led to this tragic event. The confessions were chilling. Fazal detailed the execution of the plan, the reconnaissance, the timing, the escape route, every step meticulously followed, just as Pooja and Ashok had instructed. But what shocked investigators most was the depth of premeditation. This was not a crime of passion, it was cold, calculated, and disturbingly personal. The interrogation room became a stage where hidden truths were finally revealed. Fazal described how Pooja Pandey had personally orchestrated the plan, instructing the killers on Abhishek's daily routine, his movements, and even the moments when he was most vulnerable. She had ensured that her plan left no room for error. Ashok Pandey, her husband, had been complicit at every stage, coordinating, guiding, and providing resources. Their dual betrayal of both human decency and marital trust painted a picture of a couple consumed by obsession and greed. In private, the investigators reviewed mountains of evidence, messages, call logs, bank transfers, and witness statements. Each new piece added another layer of horror. It became clear that Pooja's fixation on Abhishek had grown over months, fueled by her desire for control and possession. She could not tolerate the idea of Abhishek being with anyone else, nor could she accept that he might resist her advances. What had started as subtle manipulation had escalated to harassment, intimidation, and ultimately murder. As the confessions continued, the investigators learned of the psychological tactics used to ensnare Abhishek. Pooja had manipulated his family, created legal complications, and even attempted to isolate him socially and financially. Fazal admitted that there had been several failed attempts to threaten or coerce Abhishek before the final deadly strike. The killers, initially hired as tools for intimidation, had been guided to commit the ultimate act of violence when nothing else worked. The public reaction was one of disbelief and outrage. People in Kachoura and beyond struggled to reconcile Pooja's public persona, a respected teacher and spiritual figure, with her role in orchestrating murder. Media outlets splashed headlines of betrayal, obsession, and shocking premeditation. Social media became a battlefield of opinions. Some condemned Pooja and Ashok as monsters, while others debated the societal factors that allowed someone with influence to exploit power so dangerously. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings began. Charges were framed not only against Fazal and Asif for murder, but also against Pooja and Ashok for conspiracy, abetment, and orchestrating a contract. Killing the courtroom became a stage for moral reckoning. Pooja, once considered untouchable due to her social influence, now faced the unflinching glare of justice. Her demeanor during hearings, calm, almost detached, only heightened the public fascination. Experts debated whether her behavior reflected manipulation, narcissism, or an obsessive-compulsive need for control. Abhishek's family, though devastated, found a measure of solace in the relentless pursuit of justice. Niraj Gupta, Abhishek's father, spoke to the media, emphasizing the importance of truth and accountability. No matter how powerful or respected someone is, he said, voice trembling with emotion, justice will reach them. Abhishek deserved life, and we will honor him by ensuring that no one else can commit such a crime unchecked. The police, having meticulously documented every confession and piece of evidence, prepared for the final trial. The narrative was clear. A young man with dreams and potential had been destroyed by a toxic obsession, aided by deceit and manipulation. Yet the case also highlighted a deeper societal concern: how individuals with power, influence, and social respect can manipulate systems, people, and even law enforcement to achieve personal desires. As the trial commenced, Pooja's and Ashok's defense attempted to cast doubt, citing coerced confessions and alleged external influences. But the overwhelming evidence, coupled with the confessions of the hired killers, left little room for doubt. Witnesses corroborated the timeline, bank records confirmed payments, and phone records traced every instruction from Pooja to the perpetrators. Ultimately, the case became more than just a criminal trial. It became a story about human obsession, the fragility of trust, and the deadly consequences of unchecked desire. Abhishek's death was tragic, but the unraveling of the conspiracy served as a cautionary tale for communities everywhere. Appearances can be deceiving, and even those revered in society may hide dark intentions beneath the surface. The lesson is clear: obsession without morality, power without accountability, and desire without restraint can destroy lives. Abhishek Gupta's story is a stark reminder of the deadly intersection between human emotions and criminal intent. A story that will continue to haunt the community, the family, and those who followed the case for years to come.